All right, good evening. I'd like to open the July 11th, 2023 regular meeting. I show today we have a full quorum sitting in person, which is always nice. I don't need to consider allowing council to participate remotely, so we'll go right into the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes?
Yes, from consent agenda, consider entering cooperative agreement with Union County to enroll in the Union County Community Development. I'd like to move that to unfinished business off of the consent agenda. And if we can table new business, discuss and consider waiving two-bid requirement and contract with Security 101. Let's table that. We're gonna do some more research because we're gonna do some more research.
Okay, and that's in new business, right?
Yep, so we won't have anything in new business.
All right,
And
anything else?
That's all I have.
All right, anyone else? That said, I'll need a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
All is in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. All right, looking at going right into public comments. Do we have anyone that's signed up, Austin? If you are signed up to speak, just a reminder, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. No one has signed up. Moving on, go right into presentations. Go into reports and updates. First up is manager's report. That would be you, Christina,
DOT?
correct? What's that?
I'm thinking, got a lot to report, but, so.
All good, right?
The roundabout is, the roads are closing, I think, Monday. So we want to get an advertisement out to the public and let them know. Still discussing some things with DOT in terms of the roads that are going to be relinquished with the GEO bond question, the referendum that we've got. So still working on a couple of hiccups with that. Hopefully I'll have a better report for you guys at the work session. I did get back some information on the Providence widening. You had asked about the agreement. There is no agreement. I've had some conversations with DOT today, and they don't have an agreement yet. They said they basically had gotten us to agree in concept that we were willing to do a cost share, but we didn't assign any type of agreement at the time.
And what did we agree on at that time?
I think
In
it was-
concept, I guess.
I think it was 50%. I'll look in my emails, but they said they wouldn't have agreed to anything that far out because they don't have actual numbers, so they would have gotten, just conceptually, we're okay with a cost share, which I think was 50%. And
I just don't feel like we would have agreed upon that unless we had some sort of number in mind. I mean, it could have been $10 million and we're agreeing to 50% of it. I mean,
we do not have an agreement ready for the sidewalk on the project number. They give the project's numbers. We're still evaluating the project to determine the baseline pedestrian accommodations will be. Once we know that, we will be able to determine the accommodations requested previously by the village, which was 12-foot MUP on one side, 5-foot sidewalk on the other, which will be covered by the project or will require a betterment cost participating from the village. So whatever the betterment cost was, it sounds like they initially had planned something. We would have to pay the upgrade cost. Once we know this, we will let you know. Even after we know this, we do not typically actually enter an agreement until much closer to the actual construction date. We do this because line item costs increase over time, and waiting until we are closer to actually construction lets us set more accurate cost estimates in the agreement. No matter what the estimate in the agreement will be worded such that the village will be responsible for actual cost. So if bids come in lower than expected, than estimated amount, you will owe less, but if the bids come in higher, you will owe more. Currently, this project is programmed to start in fiscal year '28.
That's what the state is saying.
Yes.
I thought we got down to the nitty-gritty. We were back and forth as a council, whether it was this council or not, that how wide the sidewalks were gonna be, what we agreed to with that, as well as we were even talking about, at the time, I think, the age-restricted homes, Marvin Gardens, I believe, and tearing up all, courtyards, I'm sorry, courtyards and tearing up their existing sidewalks, or that was right in the middle of that, with what they were gonna do and what we were doing. So I thought we were further along and had some sort of commitment.
Did too. We, on PRG at the time, I don't know, John, if you can back me up on this, but we went through all that in the design phase as well, right? And we had, because they asked us, and we had like 2 months to come back with a plan of what they wanted. And
So
we
we-
came up with a certain width,
Yeah, we would
what
have done that.
side, all of that stuff.
Yeah, we would have given them the standards, that's why they have that outlined in the betterment, but we didn't enter an agreement.
But I just don't feel like we would have continued down that road unless we were like, we need to have some sort of idea of what this is gonna cost us and what our portion is going to be. I mean, I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no,
just,
no, no.
and we were much closer to construction at that point too, by the
Right.
way.
I was
Yeah.
here during that conversation, I remember it,
Yeah.
so I know Rohit was here, so it was probably sometime in 2018. We can go back and look at the agendas and look at, I do remember a visual PowerPoint they did, so we'll go back and do a little bit more research. I just want to let y'all know that we don't have an agreement in place.
Well, DOT doesn't have that we have an agreement in place.
Well, I couldn't find anything in our records either,
Well,
so.
I mean, if we've talked about it, and then maybe we can go down
We'll
that
go
road
back
and
and
see if we
look.
can find it that way.
Couple of other things, Public Works Director position obviously is a new position that we opened up with this fiscal year in terms of trying to segment our roads process a little better and our solid waste and just overall facility maintenance. That position is, again, new. We are conducting interviews this week. I am not in the office all of next week, so it'll likely be the following week before we actually put together the assessment and how the results of the evaluations went. So we'll hopefully have someone in place by August, September. So just letting y'all know on that.
Are we gonna get updates on Florida?
Florida, when I go to Florida? Sure. I
On
can give you
what?
updates.
Scores.
Did I miss
Going for a
it?
baseball tournament.
Oh, sorry.
So, yeah, I'll be out of town. The roundabout, I already mentioned that, and the fog seal estimate, or fog seal RFPs, they are out currently. We'll have that hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We'll have some bids back. We also are out to bid right now for our playground replacement. Those bids are due back tomorrow. You have an update in your agenda packet. Not sure if you saw that, but we do have to RFP for that project. We will get those RFPs back tomorrow. If they only result in one bid, we will have to rebid for that project again. So just letting y'all know.
Any questions from council? I have one.
Me too, go ahead.
Go ahead, you go
No, go ahead.
first. Maybe you'll steal my thunder, go.
Have we heard back from the county on the sewer proposal?
We have not. They are expecting to have a meeting next week, I think it is.
About the 17th, closed session.
Yeah,
that's
let me,
next week.
it's sometime next week. We did hear that back, that they're meeting about that project separately.
Okay,
In closed session.
okay.
Brian.
Hmm.
I did send an email to Brian about 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
He did let me know on
I
June.
would feel that would be an open session conversation, but
June 15th, yeah, June 15th, he let me know that they will,
Not necessarily.
apparently not.
they
Okay.
intended to talk about this in closed session, intended to,
What's the
Have a closed
legality behind that? Because usually you have to cite something that creates it, because we talk openly in this meeting here about what we want to do, and then they're listening, hi guys, in Union County, every day and stuff. What is there's always a legal reason. What have they, do you,
I have not, yeah, I don't know the answer to that
can
question.
you ask?
There's not, I'm gonna speak out of turn, so go ahead.
No, I just, because I would want to know why they're putting it behind closed doors. This is an open discussion of a town presenting something to them about what we would do.
Very open on our end.
I can look on their website and see if they have anything cited, but I don't know the answer to that question.
Because this is something potentially, because I don't know, but I think this is because something is potentially new to them. This is a new proposal to them. They apparently had one with Marshville. That one didn't go so well, so maybe there's maybe they're trying to match legalities of the two, the contract that they had with Marshville as opposed to what we're doing. But I believe if you look at it, that ours shouldn't be even matched with them.
But the legal issue may be able to be decided in a closed, but not the actual discussion of
Whether they
whether
want
they
to do it
would
or not.
entertain it or
Well,
not. That's
but-
the,
But again, this is, what we have presented is, it's either a yes or no. If because we've presented it in a way where there's no cost, it's a net positive gain for the county. There's no net loss to the county whatsoever.
There's nothing on their, I could see the meetings on their agenda, but there's no agenda posted on their calendar. I mean, there's no agenda posted. We can check close to the date to see if they actually are doing it in closed session, but
Okay. What was their, do we know what their biggest snafu with Marshville was?
I don't know specifically. I know that there was a discrepancy. There was something that Marshville didn't do and the county didn't do, and then they could never get it resolved. So it's been an open topic for 8 years. So what they basically cited was, this is what happens when we start to get into things with other counties. And I went, well then, if you foreclose on one house, a bank should never give another mortgage.
Did it have to do with the
So-
billing?
No.
Okay.
so one of the other items that y'all had tabled until we get to an answer on the county as to if they're going to entertain that agreement was the possibility of entering into some type of water and sewer system ourselves, primarily sewer systems. And that's not a conversation that we've had to date. We actually tabled that until the work session after this meeting, so on the 27th. That's an area where you guys can start entertaining your thought process if that's something you want to get into.
when you say get into the business, how far into the business are we getting in? Meaning that we have a water department that, what?
Like the roads?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I mean, is it just a billing thing or meters or what is it?
So the last that I had spoken to the county about any type of potential agreement, this was before we had sent our agreement over to them to consider. They had discussed the possibility of them wanting to allow municipalities to kind of control their own destiny in a sense that if municipalities wanted to get into the water business, water sewer, well, primarily sewer business, then they could look at some type of they didn't get into specificity as to what that meant, just entertaining the idea. So they would allow the municipalities to kind of come up with what that meant. Did that mean that we wanted to control the infrastructure under the ground? Did we want to do some type of lease agreement with them? Did we want to do some type of maintenance agreement with them? With that conversation, we vaguely, for literally 5-minute conversation, it was very high level, talked about what that would mean from a billing standpoint, because typically when you get into the water and sewer business, you charge your sewer based on your water consumption. So if someone consumes 5 gallons of water, we're going to bill them for sewer of 5 gallons of sewer usage. So that's typically how they work. They go hand in hand, so it's kind of hard sometimes to do one without the other. And they were not interested in the water component, they were interested in the sewer component, but we didn't know how that was going to work. Were we going to get the billing information from the county and use that data to bill the consumer directly? Or were we going to have to install individual meters on each home and do that ourselves?
And this would just be for, obviously, the Heritage District, because they're already doing it for other,
yeah, we're really just wanting for the Heritage District, talking about the,
anyone using that particular, or anything that we do new, right?
Right, well, that's the whole reason behind it, because right now, without that, nothing moves in the Heritage District.
So I would want to know if we, as the village, would be willing to handle the billing, if that was the question that was originally asked. We need to make sure that they have that information with this agreement, because I do not want it to be that they are going to turn down this because of a billing issue.
You mean, would we be able to bill the
Yes.
consumers directly?
Yes.
So that question would, the answer to that question would really be on
Get 'em, Ed.
what kind of general jurisdiction you all would be interested in the sewer? Are you talking about the entire village? You just talking about the Heritage
No,
District?
The
Just-
heritage, whatever is associated with the pump station that is gonna go in for that neighborhood, that is just that, that's all they need to, that is the agreement that we have put in front of the county
Okay.
for them to come back to us with, which would be no cost to the village, no cost, except the people that live in that neighborhood, they would be footing the bill for it. But in terms of the billing for that neighborhood, if that was an original hiccup, that it seems like that might have been something that maybe they had issues with in Marshville, or maybe not. But I want to make sure that the county is aware that we will be able to work out the billing situation. So I don't want them to be able to use billing as a way to turn down the pump station agreement that we have presented to them.
But that's your
Okay, so-
opinion, but we want.
That's my opinion, yes. That's why,
That would be something we would want, I mean, just going around the room, I don't know if you thought, would you be okay if it was, we had a pump station and we required them to have meters, and that meters were to be read by maybe a staff member, and you can do it now. You don't even have to go up to the meter right now. You drive by the place and just say, okay, this person did that. So it's 60-some homes we would be doing it for, correct?
Well, again, I wouldn't say the number of homes, because you got everything
And-
within the Heritage District.
And-
Right,
And
but,
it would go in.
but initially it would be,
But what I
That's the
want,
only
what
thing we
I
have
want to
planned
know
right now.
is, if we can figure, if the county is good with the pump station, and the developer putting it in, and the neighborhood paying for it, and it not having any cost to the village
or the county.
or the county, would we be willing to figure out the billing portion of it, so that that is not the reason that the county turns it down?
And when you say figure out the billing portion, we get that info and just forward it on to the county.
I don't know. I don't know what that entails, but
Yeah,
I'm just.
I don't either. That's why, how deep are we getting into the water business, if you will?
So I don't, personally, I don't know how the meters work. I would assume there's some level of telemetry that you can use for water, like us reading the meters from, like, driving through. I think you're talking about 68 homes, is that correct? 68 homes? So if you're only.
But I mean,
talk-
whatever's gonna hook up to that pump station, I'm assuming that they would be concerned with the billing for that pump station, not the rest of the village, and not even necessarily the rest of the Heritage District, because if it's gravity flowing somewhere else, then that's not our
Well,
problem.
so, hang on. We're going down this hole, but is the county providing county water to the Heritage? So then that would be automatically billed that way. All we're looking for is maintaining the pump station, and they would be getting the billing the same way, in and out.
But you have to know how much water they got, because
That's what they're getting, water and sewer. So the only thing that would be is the water,
Meter.
all we're asking for is in this agreement is so that the burden of the cost of the maintenance for the pump station by itself, not how much waste is going out, but just the pump station, so they don't have to maintain it.
The county, and again, this is literally a high-level conversation me and Brian had. It was very short, was not detailed at all. It was really conceptual. The county said that they would potentially be willing to give us the information, the data, the consumption. We could use that to, in turn, bill the consumer, if that's what we got down to. So if you're talking about 68 homes, we could probably figure that out internally. I'd have to do a little bit more research to answer that question fully. But if y'all are, I guess if you're asking me the question or giving me the directive to let the county know that we would be potentially interested in billing, I think we can probably figure out some type of solution if that's the round that y'all are going.
I think what Councilman Vandenberg is talking about is we want to, before they go into this closed session, take that element off the table.
Right.
So if it's a billing issue, let that not be the answer of no, let that not be an issue.
So I can go back and do a little bit more research and answer that question fully, but it sounds like y'all would be willing to entertain whatever is needed to
This is kind of easy. If the answer can't come back as no because there's a billing issue, that needs to be taken off the table. What we need is the interlocal agreement that we sent. It's either a yes or a no. If it's a no, it can't involve the billing situation.
Okay.
If it's a no, it has to be something other than billing.
So everybody's good with entertaining going into the billing business?
I mean, I feel like we can figure it out. Now, the agreement that we're gonna have is between us and the county. We will then have an agreement with the village and the neighborhood,
Right.
the developer,
Right.
however we structure that in order to take care of figuring all of that out. I want the county to either come back as a yes or a no. It's either a go or it's not, but I don't want them to be able to come back and be like, oh, we're not gonna do it because we don't want to bill for it.
Okay.
And again, from a history standpoint of what their whole thing was before this most recent commissioners got elected or in office, they were basically looking at us saying, we haven't figured out the pump station and how to pay for it.
Okay.
In all these different neighborhoods. We're giving them an answer. We're giving them an out that there's no cost to the county, no cost to anybody in the county. It only is directed at the people who would be using that, and no cost to the village either, which means village residents.
So everybody's of that same opinion? Okay.
Okay.
So what I can do is I'll let the county know that we would be willing to entertain options to take over the billing aspect in their consideration of the pump station agreement. And then I'll do a little bit more research and come back and present to y'all at the work session.
Okay, and whenever you're having this conversation, if there are other things that may be out there that may be causing them to say no, and he might be willing to share that with you, you can let us know
Okay.
so that we can react accordingly.
We did have this tabled on the 27th meeting, so I'll go ahead and let them know that information, and then they will have that for their 7/17 or 7/19 meeting. I can't remember what date it was. And then I'll have an answer back to you all at 7/27, and I'll hopefully have done a little bit of research on the metering and seeing how that works.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I do, but not related to that. So, come Monday on the 17th, when you know what hits the fan and everybody's going in all different directions, and there's all kind of backups, and you start getting phone calls.
She's not gonna be here.
You're not gonna be here. Perfect timing on your part.
It's planned that way.
Very nicely done. Who's the phone call's gonna go to, and who are we gonna call?
We're gonna give them your number, 704
I-
292.
What did I get a call for the other day? Oh, to see if somebody was in Marvin, before they bought a house, and I guess you called the mayor for that information.
In
I
terms of,
remember that.
sewer?
No,
No.
directing traffic, because we should have
Oh.
a person at DOT, thinking forward, someone at DOT that we can go to, say, here's our problem areas with this new, for the next 6 weeks, we're having problems at Joe Carr and Marvin. We're having problems at Joe Carr and Marvin School Road. And we're seeing a lot of people cut through neighborhoods, whatever it is. We don't know until it happens and they close the roads. But we should have someone
I'll get a number.
that we can,
Well,
a go-to person because we're not dealing with it anymore, correct?
Nope.
From a,
No.
we've
July 1st.
spent what we've had for the village has spent on our officers at the corners, and we have no funding for that.
We're gonna get a press release out that says, hey, roundabout's gonna be closed Monday, we'll get that contact number and we'll have it posted somewhere.
Yeah, because it really, it's a DOT problem, correct?
It is, yes.
Yes.
But yes, it's a perfect timing to take vacation.
Yeah, I may go with you. All right, anything else? Any other questions?
I think what he asked was not on who we call, but who called, who should be on Marshall sits in this building.
No, nobody. Direct them to DOT. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but we should have a number, a phone number, and thing handy.
They're gonna
because
call here
it-
and complain about it, so we need to have a DOT number handy.
Fair, okay. She's gonna get most of the calls, right? Just trying to look ahead and see what kind of issues we're gonna have. Any other question? Planners report is up next.
All right. No, I got a few things. First thing I want to update you guys on is some of the legislative bill updates that we've discussed in the last couple months. The first one being that Senate Bill 317, which was the affordable housing Senate bill. It's pretty much died in committee, from what I can tell. It hasn't moved. It's not completely killed, so, don't take my word for it, but it hasn't moved from our previous discussion back in March on that. Yeah. The second one, which was Senate Bill 375, which was the one that was basically abolishing ETJs and stuff.
The what?
The one that was abolishing ETJ and like minimum
Oh,
lot
yes.
size and certain
Okay.
things. It's still moving forward. There's been a lot of changes to it. It did pass through the Senate and it's in the House now. So that's one that I'll also be monitoring for you guys. But for the most part, there's been some significant changes to it, but it still does get rid of ETJs. If you recall, it got rid of like minimum lot size and stuff. And it now made the minimum lot size like basically a quarter of an acre. It's still unclear how that complies with zoning all this other stuff, and that's stuff that other municipalities have made aware to their local representatives. And so not really sure, like I said, I don't think it's going to pass in its current form. It's on its third edition, but it's still one to monitor moving forward.
Is this something we need to do a resolution for at this point, or just kind of,
We didn't do one. I don't think we
Phone
did
call?
a resolution for this one, but the last legislative update from the NC Planners Association was last week. And so, like I said, I'll keep monitoring it and if we need to do something. But for the most part, they called for municipalities to do a resolution opposing it back in April. And this was after it was brought to our attention, after we first discussed it, I think in May. I think like 18 municipalities responded and stuff, and all that was sent to the legislative, committees and all that. So just wanted to make you aware of those, but I'll keep following the Senate Bill 675, and if anything changes or happens, I'll definitely make sure you guys are aware. Second one is, which I'm going to kind of mention to, we can probably put it on the July work session for further discussion, but it's in regards to the Wounded Hero Memorial and the two trees outside, or the two oaks that it's kind of being proposed around. Keith and I walked the property back in late May.
Sorry, I haven't updated you on this, so we're good. You
Okay,
don't need-
never mind, we're good. We'll skip that one. Just two last things, so just want to give rezoning and development updates. Dunkin' Donuts is now open in Marvin Gardens. We're,
I'm having a hard time hearing you. It's either talking too fast or.
probably. Dunkin' Donuts is open in Marvin Gardens. Yes.
Duncan.
Yeah, I didn't hear Dunkin' Donuts, I'm sorry. Maybe it could be the acoustics.
The out parcel 2 is completed, building 4 is completed, and so there's tenants moving into those. I believe a doctor's office is going in one of those spaces in building 4, as well as a sushi and hibachi place.
Ooh.
But, so more, a lot happening over at Marvin Gardens. There's still 2 out parcels to be developed. I do have one prospective restaurant, can't say much more than that. But, they've been in conversations with Publix on leasing the property and talking with me on, the site plan and stuff. So once it's actually kind of applied for, it will be going through that formal process, and DRB will review the plans, and council will then also see the plans and what's being proposed.
Do I need to sign any paperwork for that sushi place?
Probably, but not yet, because they just got their like upfit renovation permit today. So it'd probably take them a couple months to do the interior upfit and renovations of the actual restaurant before they open. The ZEPSA conditional rezoning will be on planning board agenda next week. It's anticipated that planning board will make a recommendation at that meeting. So it will be brought to council for a public hearing and consideration at the, is it August 8th meeting? I do want to kind of just get with you guys prior, just once again, go over their full submittal package, go over, some of the terms of development agreement, all that stuff that you guys will see during that public hearing. I just want to make sure council's all good with everything. I know that you guys have been trying to keep you in the loop of that whole submittal the whole time. So you probably see an email from me, probably come out tomorrow, just to set up one-on-ones, two-on-ones over, between now, potentially the work session. So then if there's any questions, comments during the work session, we can go ahead and get them addressed. Any questions on that?
So you'll set up separate meetings then?
Yeah, it would just be with me. Yeah,
He's gonna email you. Joe.
Email you.
I'll email, text, call, whatever you prefer.
Text Joe.
Text would be good.
Sounds good. The development ordinance rewrite update, it's going well. We're still we have, this will be our third meeting next week on that. So far, it's been pretty much all boring stuff, like administrative procedure type stuff. Starting in August, we will be getting into kind of the meat and bones of the regulations, meaning the actual kind of zoning district regulations, permitted uses, lot sizes, setbacks, all that stuff. I do encourage council to probably start either coming and participating in those meetings as, just residents or, watching it online. I do plan on probably doing a joint meeting with council and planning board in September, October, just so I can, before, planning board and the consultant and staff get the regulations to a certain point, I want to make sure you guys are in the loop, know what's being, proposed and understand the process and kind of get additional comments from council during that time. So we'll probably, you might want to make a note we'll discuss that with planning board next week, but then potentially schedule a joint meeting at the July work session.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
So, and then final thing is the Marvin Loop project. I can't recall the last update I gave on this, but DOT has concurred with our preliminary engineering firm selection of Dewberry. We have gotten our funding authorization. Christine and I met with Dewberry today to kind of do some pre-scoping stuff. So they're working out the final man hours needed, their rates, and kind of everything within the scope. We should have that in the next couple weeks. That gets sent to DOT as a formal type agreement per se, and then they move forward. So most likely sometime in August, early September, we'll start actually getting some documents from Dewberry regarding the project. Other than that, that's all I got, unless there's any questions.
Questions from council? All right, thank you, Hunter. Next up, PR&G board report.
Nope.
Oh, planning board.
Nope.
No, wait a minute, wow, how did I get so far? Roads report. Maria, this is still taking effect.
I kind of gave those in my manager's report, the roundabout. The roundabout at construction is getting ready to start. Fog seal RFP should be back in the next couple of weeks. We may have to end up doing another RFP on that. Aside from that, you do have a fog seal application in your approved maintenance plan for the fall of this year, so we'll be moving forward with that in the next couple of months. That's all I have at this point.
All right, any questions? Deputies report. Any questions for Ed?
I wanted to
Ed?
get that guy that was just driving by really loud. Get him, Ed, get him.
Is there any questions about the deputy report?
I like our minimum speed is going down. It's still too high, but it's going down. It's trending in the right direction.
That's the reason why I came up here. I sent out an email to all my HOAs. I had a spare car for a few days because I ran over one of the rocks that the guy left in the road down there. took out my transmission and a other thing on my car. But when I was driving the spare car around, I noticed that people were flying around, that they're driving like crazy. So I sent out an email saying that you're not gonna get any warning tickets from me, and I'm gonna start taking some of my full days. I worked all day today and made about 11 traffic stops. So what I'm gonna do is, on days that I'm not in my neighborhoods, I'm gonna work strictly traffic enforcement, and they're either gonna have to spend time in court, getting citations, or, you know, it's their money, not mine. So they're either gonna slow down or I'm gonna keep writing them. I'm not giving out warnings, I'm giving out citations. Warnings don't work, so.
So with the information you provided us, I'm looking at 56 miles and over, we're looking at this is 1 month, I assume, right? 15, close to 1,600 plus cars that are going faster than 50 miles an hour. I think, is there a certain time when they're doing that? Is there a way to timestamp?
We can look
Especially
at-
the 60 to 70, 71 to 75?
The radar signs that you have in the radar trailer, they all timestamp all those. So that's what I used to do with the old trailer, is I'd bring up the reports and find out what times of day they were coming through and speeding, and I'd go up and set up a speed trap for them. I'm hoping that if I start writing enough tickets, word of mouth will get around that they need to slow down.
But if it's happening at a specific time, maybe that's the time
Yeah.
that Andy would probably know best. when
Yeah,
they're coming.
I
Is it
spoke
late
with
at
Andy the
night?
other day. I'm gonna try to get down here on Friday and Saturday night when I'm on and set up down there and see if I can get a couple of those guys down there racing and stuff, so.
And, well, and out here between you two, is it the Friday, Saturday night racing up and down the road kind of thing?
It's loud, but it's usually Bob's coming home.
And just for Christina's information, if you send out about the road closure, if they drive through that road after it's closed, it is not an infraction, it's a misdemeanor charge. And it cannot be pled down. You either go to court and have a trial and get found guilty, or you plead guilty to it. It's a misdemeanor charge that stays on your record, and they do that because of the safety of the workers and stuff that are in it.
Including bicyclists? Including bicyclists, because I had a friend who was pulled over by an officer when they were doing this roundabout right
Did they give
here.
him a
I
citation?
think they gave him a warning,
Yeah.
but
We
he
just tell
said,
everybody to stay off of
Well,
it, because it's not,
it
it's
is
a
a
construction
safety-
site.
Well, I
It's
wasn't
safety.
here for the second one, but the first circle I was here for, I charged 2 people on that, and one of them took me to trial, and he was found guilty, and it was a misdemeanor charge, and he was mad at me, and I was like, I'm not the one that moved the sign aside and drove through it. But with that circle, from them driving through it, I talked to the guys with DOT and the guys that were actually doing the work. Because they drove through there and they had to regrade several times, and because they went in the weekend that they were gonna open it and drove through and took all the tape off, they actually cost everybody else that was abiding by it 2 weeks. They said they would have been completed with that first round about 2 weeks earlier if people would have just stayed off of it. So you got all these people that are doing what they're supposed to do and driving around, and you got these idiots that wanna drive through it and make other people that are doing what they're supposed to do be punished for something, they can't do. So when they start this up here, I'm gonna be writing tickets for that too, so.
Well, and when it does close, that people are gonna be going down Joe Carr.
Yeah.
And up Marvin School, and they're gonna be irritated, so they're gonna be
Flying, yeah.
fussing it down there. And then they're probably also gonna be using a neighborhood over here as a cut-through. So we may wanna sit there too, because they're gonna be hauling butt through the neighborhood too, I bet.
Through where? Oh,
Firethorn?
Firethorn,
You're
yeah.
not allowed to say that, yeah. Well, we are going to be a cut-through for South Carolina.
Well, Joe, you got that giant truck and trailer, just block off that end.
Black off the road, my streets anyway.
And just so everybody notices, on this little pie chart, the number of cars that traveled on Marvin Road in June was 212,000,
One way,
one way,
One way.
one way. So just,
so double that.
that's a lot of traffic,
I think it's a total of 540.
yeah, both ways. That's a lot. That's a lot of cars that travel on that little road, so,
Yeah, I'm
you know.
not even looking forward to the accidents in the news circle, because it seemed like every time we got one, there was more
well, we're
accidents.
hoping maybe we got 2 now that they'll be
At least
used
they're
to
little
that one.
fender benders and not
One final question, and it's just for my own, as I look at your report, I know there was a break-in of a house in my neighborhood. How does that get shown in this? Is it, I see car breaking and entering, but I don't see home breaking and entering. There had
It's
to
not
be-
on there?
I don't know
I can look at
what
the-
it's titled
I can look at the
under.
long report and see,
It was just a couple weeks ago. Burglary, would that be burglary? Could be anything.
if it's
not
at night, it's
necessarily-
burglary. If it's in the day, it's breaking and entering. They're both felonies, it's just a burglary.
But is it specific, because it could be burglary of a car or
It's
a,
burglary of a car, it's burglary of it's breaking and entering of a motor vehicle.
that's what I see, that car
Yeah, but
breaking
that-
and entering, but I don't see anything for
The house,
home in any of this, which I know I was gonna look for it in the next thing. It's just out of curiosity, just because if it's not being, or if it's hidden in one of these, but there had to be 5 Union County
were you sure it was this last
Cars.
month?
It's within the last 30 days.
Because it's not showing up on ours. It might be on the
Okay.
month before.
All right.
I think it might have been on the month before, Joe, but I'll look it up for you.
I'm
if you
just,
need me to.
for my own, just to see what, I thought, okay, how many are we actually having? But it happened, and it is a house that I'm aware of, that the people were gone 6 months out of the year. So it's maybe something we encourage people to say, hey, I'm gonna be gone.
Yeah, when they're gone, have them call us and we'll go
Call
out and
you
check it.
guys, and so you're more
I get flagged
attentive
down all
to
the
it.
time, asked to check residents. I just got stopped by someone over in the courtyards
Okay.
to check their house for them, so.
All right. As always, thank you for your service. Thank you. All right, next up, we have Planning Board report.
In addition to the fact that the meeting on the 22nd was recessed to discuss the Marvin Development Ordinance that Hunter alluded to, we covered 3 things, which was the discussion and recommendation of a zoning designation for an annexed petition parcel at 1225 Crane Road. We talked about the discussion, and it was recommended for the zoning submittal for the Zepsa property that's going to be in the Heritage District. And we also talked about and discussed the Marvin Heritage District Form-Based Code revisions. There were some revisions to it that we went over, and there were some recommendations made. That was it.
No, we didn't make any decisions, right? Or recommendations, is what you're saying.
Oh, there were recommendations for all those 3, yeah,
Oh,
that'll be
okay.
coming our
okay.
way.
I thought there were still one
Yeah.
for the ones I've sent. Okay. PR&G report, moving on.
All right, thank you. We just had our meeting this morning, really good, productive meeting. We went over the Marvin Day survey results, which we will do in just a minute. Tyler updated us on the event planning. We've got National Night Out coming out on August the 1st at 5:30 at the park. We would love everyone who is in town on council to attend and be there and help out and enjoy. We got updates on the Greenways trails. We've got the Painted Turtle Trail that connects the internal preserve trail to Marvin Creek. That is finished. And Tullamore Phase 4 should be starting basically any day now. I updated the Parks Rec and Greenway Board on the GEO bonds, where we kind of landed with trails and where we were, just kind of where we landed with all of our discussions from last week. National Night Out. We're planning on doing Trick or Treat in the Park on Friday, October 27th. Mark your calendar. We are planning on doing the tree lighting at the park on Saturday, December 9th. And I don't remember if we landed on a time. I was thinking 4:30, and then we were gonna see if maybe we could have Santa arrive in style, like at 4:45. Maybe like on a fire truck, and then, but go ahead and light the tree at 4:30, and then have really push the whole, come take pictures with Santa at the park with the tree and all the things. So that's kind of what we landed on for that event. And then, Tyler, you can update us on the programming that are you gonna talk about that? Or do you want me to just, okay, you can do that. Okay, perfect. And that was it. Any questions?
Well, is this your first, Tyler, National Night Out? All right, any questions for council that you feel that you would need help on or assistance?
If anybody's interested, we'll all meet there at 4:30. That's what I had told the board. And if anyone will take all hands on deck, kind of help out. The only thing really I can think of needing help right now with is roaming and maybe like watching the food, kind of mingling with people, like at the tables, like as people are coming through the lines. I think we have a couple board members that have volunteered to grill and take care of cooking the hot dogs and everything.
Okay, that's it for Parks Rec and Greenway.
Thank you. Event planning report.
So, I know we also had talked this morning about the possibility of some athletic programs in the fall using the multipurpose fields at Marvin Elementary School. Having conversation with Dr. Spencer over there, we're leaning towards kind of trying to figure out what we can do, like if we can have exclusive rights to a couple nights a week maybe and get, say, maybe fall soccer, fall t-ball, something like that, rolling down that way. That's pretty much it, other than the events and the programs that I have. If y'all have the survey, if y'all have that in front of y'all.
I saw that,
Yeah.
So,
but aren't we talking about that later?
no, we're gonna talk about Marvin Day now.
Okay.
So with that being said, if that's okay, we had a Marvin Day subcommittee meeting today to kind of debrief, go over the survey results, which are in your packets. You guys can peruse them. We're not going to dive into them now. If you guys have questions, you guys can call me about them. But we have decided that we are going to split the 5K in Marvin Day. We are going to, and this is all with council's approval, obviously, but this is what we are recommending. Have Marvin Day move it into April, move it to the last Saturday of April. We know that we will run into some spring break dates, but it will only be one in the next 5 years, so we can move it a week forward if we need to. But we would like to have it on April the 27th, starting at 3 p.m. at the park. And we would like to have the 5K on June the 1st. And we would like to also have that at the park. We're going to have the 5K company come out and look at the park and see if we can get a 5K out of the park space. If not, we'll move it back to having it at the elementary school. After going round and round, this is what we felt like would work the best with timing. And we talked about having it at the high school, but we're not gonna be able to do anything until basically the summer. We talked about having it at the elementary school, but we can't have bounce houses there. We can't have certain vendor trucks serving beverages that we might want. We won't be able to do fireworks there. We've also talked about, instead of doing fireworks, doing some sort of maybe drone show or light laser show. So we've got a lot of things in the works, but I really wanted to see if you guys were good with the kind of the rearranging of splitting things, because we felt like the day is just too long, period.
So, and I'll say before you answer that, I'm sorry, that we have a work session item for Marvin Day updates on very specific things, meaning what components we're keeping, what changes we want to have. So really, at this point,
We just
we're
want to
not.
know that if you guys are good with the date, the time, and the place. Speak.
I will, but I'm giving the council a chance to. Anyone from council? Wayne?
Part of their conversation they had was attendance, when people could get there, and it obviously, some of the stuff we had this past Marvin Day that we did not have attendance, for whatever reason we had. But I think there's a lot of issues, a lot of things that go along with them wanting to change some things and stuff.
So I think everything is predicated on how easy is it to get there? I mean, literally parking and everything. Have we just given up on, this is a question, have we just given up on doing the performance at the high school stadium and,
Yes.
why?
Because they're not going to commit to anything. Like, we've reached out to them, they're not going to commit to anything until the summer. the subcommittee, I'm going to speak for the subcommittee, We do not want to have it in two different locations where people are having to go one place to do the animal exhibits and do the disc golf and do the, the face painting and the bouncy houses, because you can't do that stuff at the school. Like, we're never gonna get the field, we're never gonna get any of that stuff. So then you've got all that stuff on the asphalt. Then, and we've talked about this, people complained about having to get on a shuttle, but you have people that get on a shuttle for the Wells Fargo, you have people that get on a shuttle for the Cheerwine, you have people that get on a shuttle for the Indian Trail event that they had 17,000 people on the same day that we did. It's going to take time for people to wrap their head around. You're gonna have to get on a shuttle. It's gonna take you 5 extra minutes. But we felt like having it all at the park is a better feel for what we're trying to do. And people will eventually get on board with it. So yes, we have given up on the high school.
As long as the high school's there, they're never gonna let you use the field, so you have to only think of it as their parking lot. And then the only thing you could use the parking lot for is where people could park, you could shuttle from there. There, because I went through all this stuff and I kind of looked at it. There was one comment that someone made that I do want to address. But if if everyone can park at the parking lot, and we have shuttles where when you get out of your car and lock your car, you're getting on a shuttle. There is no wait. You can have a sponsor for shuttle. If you really want to grab a good sponsor, you can sponsor a shuttle, and you have, if it's 4, 5, to make sure that when you step out of your car and when you're picked up down there, we have the problem. All we got to do is refine the solution. But I
So
agree
we
with
would go
Kim.
to one parking area.
We'd go to
I
one
assume.
One
One
parking
parking
area at the
area.
high school, and with that being, like, we would have multiple shuttles, it would be a smaller amount of time, they would not have to take a break, and if they did have to take a break, we would have it staggered, so we would not just stop the shuttles. Like, we understood that was, a pain and kind of not something that we knew about, so we can plan on that, but it's gonna be a more condensed day, so that they probably won't have to take a break, and if they do, then it'll be a shorter break and staggered.
Yeah, this could start. I mean, I'm sure someone talked about what time they could actually start instead of, starting later in the day, because you want to keep them there the whole time. You want the food trucks there to be utilized for snacks and stuff, but then into the dinner part, and then the food trucks are going to be happy to be there because they're going to get everybody in there for the dinner stuff. It's just condensing it, and I'd rather condense it this time and then see where that goes to make it bigger as we move down the road. But I'm in total agreement with and just reading through all of these, they're minor fixes that we could fix. The only thing that I saw in here that we need to address is the fact that, someone said that we spent too much money of village money to do this, when in fact, and I think the first year we addressed that. The second year, because of the storm coming, we didn't get a chance to address that. But we don't budget for Marvin Day. We don't take funds for Marvin Day to do this. This is all sponsor-driven. So if there's anyone listening to this, and if there's taxpayers that are out there, this is done through sponsors. And this is a great way to bring the community together, and we're not spending money on this. So, I just want to, hopefully we can address that with the person that made that a response, because we would just never spend money on anything to do anything, because let's just don't spend it.
Glad you said that, thank you.
Okay. Well, in fairness, the one thing I remember that I think brought a lot that kind of went right into the show was the car show. And that brought a lot of people, because just the fact we had over 100 cars brought 300-400 people. Then they knew, there's a concert going on, so it was just something to just kind of roll into.
Totally agree
But
with that.
I will just tell you that, and I know John Jones, I think, is looking at trying to do something at a separate time for Marvin and just call it a Marvin Day Car Show. Where that happens, maybe over at the old, where the Village Hall used to be and out in the grass, that type of thing, smaller event. But for me to do it, you really got to get your head around, it is so much work when trying to get just alone the judges, because people want to bring their car to see if they can win whatever it is, a trophy, you know, but it's a lot of time, but I think that was a big part of, you know, having that parking lot, which the school has worked with the Color Guard who have sponsored that in the past, in the band who have sponsored that. So they've worked with that, and it was that one year they allowed us, and we're really not on their field, so I don't understand why they think we're tearing up the field. And then you have the location behind it.
No, it's
So
the
I see-
track.
The track, the
Yeah.
track. It's on the track. It's not affecting the field when you're doing the performance. Then you have that show, and then right behind it. I just think, I haven't given up on whoever it is that's making that decision. I personally haven't given up. I would just like to ask you if I could have a chat with them to see if that would be even, because what I'm hearing, and I'm in favor of it, is like Friday night, have the fireworks and the show?
That's
No?
not what we said.
Well, 2 different days, you
No.
said.
Yes,
Okay,
one in April, one in June.
okay, okay,
So let me just,
Saturday, April the 27th,
okay,
for Marvin Day,
okay.
which is a Saturday, at like 3 in the afternoon. You have all the stuff at the park, you have your face painting, you have your bounce houses, you have your animal shows, all the things that everybody talked about that they loved, right into the concert and the fireworks.
Okay.
At the park.
All right,
Then you have the 5K on June 1st.
okay. So there were no issues or complaints on fireworks, just,
Oh,
There
no,
was-
there were some, but they
There
were,
were some, but I
but
think.
you're gonna have somebody that
Of
complains
course.
about everything that we
Yeah,
do.
I could-
It doesn't matter.
Totally agree. And here's the other thing. We need to just reach back out to those. A lot of this, when I read through this, is about communication. We could market it better. We could communicate to people. We can,
We've already
we
talked
can
about.
communicate, we can put something in, everybody that's in, what's the name of the neighborhood? Just Walden Pond, that says we're having fireworks this one day. If there's 3 people in Walden Pond that says, oh my God, you can't have it, so we're gonna shut down fireworks for everybody in this area for 3 people. For 3 people, I can go get them a horse stable somewhere, or, you know, there's alternatives to doing this. And you're always gonna make someone upset about something. So we have issues that we can address. None of these issues are,
The subcommittee wants to know if you're good with the dates, time, and place.
okay. April 27th, all day,
Nope, 3 o'clock
3 PM.
till 10.
so we
Am I
really were
talking a
just trying
different
to.
language? Am I speaking in a language that other
We
people?
were really just trying to get approval on the date and time of
Yeah,
the 2
let's do that.
events.
Let's do
Not
that.
really to go into discussion about the details. We're gonna have that discussion at the work session. So if y'all want to have, if y'all are okay with the date and time and locations, we're good to move forward. If you're not okay with it, then we can have this discussion as a part of the overall conversation at the work session.
Okay,
So are we good with the date, time, and place?
April 27th?
Yep.
What's the other date?
June 1st
June 1st, okay.
for the 5K,
That's just the 5K.
just the 5K.
Okay.
So are we
Hopefully
good with
fine.
that? I need to know if everybody's good with that or
well, we need to make a motion then.
Do you need to make a motion?
no. I just need consensus.
Okay, yeah, I'm good with that.
Good, good.
I just question, I don't vote.
Okay, Bob, you good?
I think I'm good. I know that you and I discussed, we talked about, you know, the timing, and should it be part of an Oktoberfest or something like that in the fall versus, I never thought about April 27th or, you know, the April time period. It's still spring is coming, so.
The
you know, I'm
gardens are
good-
gonna
I'm
look
good for it.
great. Yeah. Okay, great.
All
Thank you,
right.
thank you all very much.
Moving on. All right, so I need, next up we have consent agenda. I need a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Next up, we have public hearing. What is? As you can tell, those who are here, I have my sidekick just on me today.
I just wondered if I was speaking a different language here.
Sometimes you do, yes.
Just a second.
Okay, next up, we have open the public hearing to consider adoption of the ordinance extending to the corporate limits of the Village of Marvin.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And we don't have our legal counsel here, but I think we open this up to the public. Has anyone signed up to speak?
So normally you allow staff to do their report first, then we turn it over to the public.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, this is for that parcel on Crane Road. I believe it's 1225 Crane Road. A single parcel, a little over 3 acres. They've made their way through the process. This is just the stage to adopt the ordinance if you do so wish to bring it into Marvin. No real issues of concern. Is there any questions about the property?
Just
Process?
curious why they decided to be a part of Marvin. Did they say?
The property owner wishes to subdivide her property for at least one additional parcel, and that's something that Union County doesn't allow, but it is allowable through our ordinances.
Okay.
So if Union County won't work with you, you can come to Marvin.
Come on in. Mr. Slogan, come on in, we'd love to have you.
Yeah. Fortunately, we'll probably won't get sore. It's another issue, I guess, so. Okay. Any other questions?
Any questions for Austin? Nope, okay. Do we have any public for this one?
No one had signed up on the sheets, but
Okay.
if anybody here wishes to speak, you can.
Anybody? No? Okay. All right, come on down to the microphone.
So this property, 1223 Crane Road, is right next door to the property
Can you
1225.
state your name and address?
My name is Shavonda.
Okay.
Johnson Dean.
Yep.
And I grew up right off Crane Road. My grandmother lives at 1223 Crane Road, which is right next to 1225 Crane Road.
Okay.
And we don't want to be zoned in the Marvin, the 1223. I don't know if.
Or not to be
Just
part
the
of
property
Marvin?
next door.
Okay, all right.
It's not a forced annexation, it's a voluntary thing, so we're,
Okay.
we are in the process of trying to bring more people in and close
Okay.
that donut hole, but you have the right to stay out on your own, so it doesn't need to be said. Do you have any other concerns, or? Okay.
No, so the address will still be Waxhaw.
Yours will, but theirs won't.
So you technically live in Union County. You're not technically in Waxhaw. It's just what's on there because of the postal code.
Okay.
That wouldn't change.
Okay.
And we share a post office, that's all we share, same zip code. We share, the post offices aren't buildings anymore, so
Okay.
you're part of Union County, it's just unincorporated Union County, and you'll remain that until you choose, or if the state says
Yeah.
down the road, okay, we're allowing forced annexation, and then you definitely won't want to be a part of Waxhaw, I'll tell you that. And I'm saying, and the only reason I'm saying that, because their tax is about 36 cents per $100 value. Our tax currently is at 6 cents. So that was one of the reasons the gentleman in the back there was able to get individuals to voluntarily become part of Marvin. They were concerned at some point they could become Waxhaw and be charged that, so.
Okay. Do y'all see that coming?
Well,
Not anytime soon.
Yeah.
And there will be a lot of legislation that goes along with it, and there will be a lot of education put out about it, but
Okay.
no time soon.
Okay.
He says yes, I say no time soon.
yeah, it's, I
Not the
think
fo-
it's.
not the forced
it's
annexation.
at least 5 years out or
Okay.
more,
So-
if that were to happen. But
Okay.
it could,
Okay.
it could,
All right.
so.
But you're good now.
Yeah.
Does not affect you at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's it, thank
Okay?
you.
You're very
Thanks for your
welcome.
time, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on down. Just state your name and your address.
I'm Keith Adams. What is my address? 8435, something, Broxburn Lane. My property backs up to that parcel.
Okay.
I'm in the Broxburn neighborhood, or what is my neighborhood? Drayton Hall, yes. I'm nervous up here. So I'm in Drayton Hall. My property backs up to them.
Okay.
So I guess my concern is the reason they want to come is to subdivide and put additional houses near my property. is my concern.
And it's how many acres?
It's 3 acres. The property owner just wants to subdivide for one additional property for her son. The only reason that it's not allowed through Union County is with the way their ordinance reads with road frontage, and lots have to abut a public road. Ours reads something slightly different, and there is right-of-way dedicated on the property, so she would be able to subdivide. That's the only caveat on why the county was not allowing it. But the plan is for her to subdivide for her son and just create one additional lot and put a house. The minimum lot requirements, if annexed, would still be 1 acre. There's still buffer and tree requirements that they would have to apply to and all that. So if approved, it's not increasing density or any of that to have more homes closer to you or on that property. It's just literally for the way one language in Union County's ordinance reads and compared to what our ordinance reads. It's really nothing even more restrictive or less. It's just the interpretation of how it reads.
But we're technically more restrictive than Union County is.
Correct.
Yeah, so you get less, you yield less homes per acre in Marvin than you would if you were unincorporated Union County or potentially other municipalities. We're probably one of the most strict, or what's called R40 zoning, which is just under an acre. 43,000 square feet is approximately 1 acre. So that's what we're at. So the max they could put in there is one more home. It wouldn't be like a development or anything like that.
Gotcha, but currently, the reason they're trying to rezone is because they can't put another home, correct?
When the property is annexed into a town, you have to take it from the county zoning to the municipality zoning. So they're being proposed to be rezoned our standard residential district, which is 1 unit per acre. So they're not going to a more dense zoning, they're just moving from Union County zoning to Marvin zoning.
Okay.
Basically, if the annex petition is approved by the village council, then our zoning ordinance applies to them, not Union County's. Meaning, like I said, the regulations between what's there now and so, they're all the same, pretty much, like with the size of the lot, what's permitted uses. It's literally just a language for them to subdivide. Union County's reads that you have to front an approved public road. Ours states that you just have to front an approved public right-of-way, and there is public right-of-way that runs off that lot.
So let me ask you something, Hunter, is this 3 acres, if it was redesignated in the county and be a neighborhood, and say they wanted to put like 6 houses and put a new road in that accesses this neighborhood, they could do that under Union County zoning?
Yes, if approved through Union County through the rezoning process, but we don't have any ordinances that allow for something more dense than 1 acre.
Right. So what they could do, technically, they could put 6 houses on that lot under Union County zoning. That would never be allowed in Marvin if they're in. What they're trying to do is just get one additional house without putting in a subdivision. They want to use their right-of-way, from what I'm understanding. So they only want to just put one more house on a 3 acre lot. If they were to go the Union County way, if they were to sell that property to a developer, Union County would grant them R20 zoning, which we've seen happen on Crane Road, and they could put up to 6 houses on that piece of property.
Okay.
So,
One other question I have, and it made me think, so is it septic or are they attached to?
It's septic.
It is septic. So let's just say it is. It's 3 acres. We would only allow one more home. If it didn't perk, would we allow that home to be built there?
If it doesn't have access to water or sewer, it wouldn't be able to be built.
Okay.
Because it's got to have access to an adequate water or sewer system, meaning either a sufficient well and working septic system or county water.
But if it's well and septic now, we assume that the other property is gonna be that, which maybe they did the due diligence on that and said, okay, yeah, we can get water and we can also get a septic because we know it perks, we did the test and stuff, so.
Correct.
But to Andy's point, it could be 6 because they've done that before, where in Marvin, the max going forward would only be one, but as long as it does perk and they have access to that, so.
And then to be clear, like with the understanding, like the front of the road, like currently, I think that property is sharing a driveway with the adjacent property?
Correct, but it is platted as a 50-foot public right-of-way, meaning when it's platted and dedicated as public right-of-way, that means technically anybody has the right to access ingress and egress.
Gotcha.
So, like I said, the difference between their definition and ours is that ours says right-of-way, the county says a approved road. So, that's just the biggest difference.
Okay.
Any other questions, or what, your property's there now, how many acres, or does it have buildings on it currently, or?
Yes, yeah.
He's in a neighborhood.
Oh,
I'm in
it's-
the-
okay.
I'm in the neighborhood, yeah, so my house, my backyard backs up to probably where the new house is going to be,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
There's still setbacks and other requirements that if the property's annexed and subdivides, we have like a tree protection ordinance, all that stuff where the proposed house will be a minimum of 50 feet off the rear property line. I don't know the location of the house. I haven't seen, like I said, she just wants to subdivide, create an additional lot for her son to have a house. But the minimum setbacks would be 50 off the front, 50 off the rear, 20 on the sides. We also have some tree protection stuff, because I know that back of the lot is wooded. But from our preliminary conversations, when she came in and met with Austin and I, it's gonna be closer to the existing home more than the rear property line itself.
Yeah, we purchased our home almost 10 years ago, and 6 months after we purchased, she cleared off the woods there. And I talked to her, didn't try to figure out what was going on, got some vague answers, but all the woods have grown back up. So that's my concern, is because when she cleared it off the first time, she cleared all the way up to my property line.
She wouldn't be able to do that per ordinance, or she would have to mitigate and plant them all back.
Yeah, if she
Yeah, I
was
mean,
part of
she-
Marvin, I don't think she has the
We're
right.
gonna be better off with her building a house there, because we're gonna require a screening where
Versus
she doesn't have it now.
Yeah,
unincorporated Union County, where she's gonna go in and clear the trees again.
that's why I'm here. I just
Yep.
got the letter, it just was vague that they were rezoning. I wanted
Yep,
to find out what it
absolutely.
was.
Yeah.
Oh, glad you came in.
I-
Yes.
It's the most people we've had in a meeting in, months.
For an annexation, so
Yeah.
that's great, I mean, but,
Rezone more property around me and I'll keep coming.
Why don't you come on into Marvin? Don't you want to be part of Marvin? Come on in. We'd love to have you.
I am in Marvin. I just-
Nope, you're in
No?
unincorporated Union County.
Am I really?
Yeah,
All right. We'll have to
come
get-
on in.
I'll get it switched over to that 6%.
There, 6 cents, that's right.
6
Come-
cents.
Come on in.
but again, and this is just, I always say, if you had a choice, because there was a choice, there was annexation, Waxhaw was grabbing land, Marvin was grabbing land,
Charlotte.
Charlotte, we're at 6 cents, they're at 38 cents. You have $1 million home, you're paying $3,800 a year in Waxhaw, you're paying $600 in Marvin.
I like the Marvin number.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
You can talk to Austin about annexing. Come on in. We'd love to
If you
have
have
you.
a nice car, we'll have a car show or something, so.
Okay.
Thank you for coming, appreciate it. Okay, no one else here to speak on that?
Okay,
All
so I'm
right,
going to make
that-
a motion to close the public hearing.
Further discussion, all's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right,
Do we have any
anything?
discussion on this?
I don't, I looked at it and I didn't see anything that was, biggest question was, why were they doing it? Makes sense that they would do it.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to adopt the ordinance extending the corporate limits of the Village of Marvin as presented.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have opened the public hearing to consider an ordinance to rezone annex petition property located at 1225 Crane Road, parcel number 06180005 M as in Mary, to R Marvin Residential, which would be R40.
So moved.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the hearing's open. Anyone here to speak on that? Well, I'll have you talk first.
Yeah, we kind of blended it in the last public hearing, but in short, now that the property has been annexed into the Village of Marvin, per the state statutes, we have to rezone or give it one of our zoning designations. And we have, you know, our Marvin Residential and our RUC, Residential Union County, which is typically, the RUC district's typically used for subdivisions that have been annexed in because their plats sometimes, or the properties are smaller, certain different zoning regulations for when they were in Union County, so it's kind of like a vested district, basically. And then our R Marvin is, you know, our standard 1 acre per lot, 50-foot front setback, 20 on the side, 40 to /50 on the rear, depending on it, if you're in a conservation zone. But anyways, so with that being said, staff has recommended to zone the property R Marvin Residential. Planning Board also made this recommendation. This is because it doesn't create any nonconformities. It's not in a platted major subdivision, and the property would be able to comply with the R regulations as is, and that means if she subdivided further, she would have to also then comply with those regulations in our ordinance.
And it is considered satellite, correct? A satellite location. So what's the closest actual Marvin to that right now?
The park?
It would be the park,
Okay.
Phyllis.
Great.
the Marvin Villas, yes. Across from the park.
Will Owens property.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any questions for staff? Is that all from staff? Okay, do we have anybody here that wants to talk about this? It's the same thing, we're now just changing the zoning. Nope? Okay.
All right, make a motion.
Yep, I'm gonna make a motion to close the public hearing.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Do we have any more discussion?
I do not.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to adopt an ordinance to rezone the subject property located at 1225 Crane Road and further identified as parcel number 06-180-005M to R Marvin Residential Zoning District, and find that the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the Village of Marvin 2020 Land Use Plan and other officially adopted village plans, and is reasonable and in the public interest and are consistent with surrounding uses and zoning.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And last up on a public hearing, open the public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance for zoning text amendments to the Marvin Heritage District Form-Based Code.
Yeah, so staff's been working on, yeah, they need to open.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Hunter?
So if you recall, the Marvin Heritage District Form-Based Code was adopted and established back in January of last year. Since then, the staff's been doing research, looking at revisions, and it kind of got pushed to the wayside just because other things came up. But then with recent rezoning submittals and other conversations with property owners, it was brought to the attention just of some regulations within the ordinance that need to be updated for clarification. So all these proposed changes are ones that Chaplain and I discussed that were recommended that needed to just be amended, changed because of the way that the district is set up. If you recall, originally, before I started, the form-based code in the district was set up as a conventional zoning district, meaning all the properties were going to be rezoned that, and once rezoned, those standards apply. We then changed it to a conditional district, which means that the property owners have to petition to rezone. And that's a legislative decision, meaning that if there's a certain aspect of a potential rezoning development proposal, something that the council doesn't like, it means that you guys don't have to approve it. It also provides us an opportunity to get some higher, quality development with that. So with that being said, so a lot of these changes are kind of referencing where it was a conventional district, but now that we're a conditional district, it makes sense to make these changes. So I'm going to kind of go through the changes real quick. And if there's any questions from the council, I'll be happy to answer them. In your guys' packets, there's I think it's the first attachment, which is final proposed MHD FBC text amendments. The first big change is adding the following language, which is just if any standards are proposed that are different, is no greater than a 10% deviation from the regulations herein and any other applicable sections of the Marvin Code of Ordinances, the applicant must clearly demonstrate that the overall resultant of the project is greater than or which is typically allowed by the sub-district regulations. Any intentions or requests to deviate from this ordinance may be outlined in particular detail within the application submittal. Conditions the applicant intends to provide to mitigate these impacts expected from a requested deviation must also be described in detail. In short, this is being proposed because with it being a conditional district, you can sort of you kind of allow for some potential deviations, but the issue is that the regulations within the form-based code were kind of more restrictive, and you can't always go less restrictive than something. So it's allowing for a 10% deviation to be proposed. Once again, that does not mean that it's going to be approved. That 10%, it's kind of setting parameters where, for example, if the setback is 50 feet for something and they wanted it to be 45 feet, that deviation can be proposed within their submittal, and that is something that is considered at the time of the rezoning by the village council. Any questions on that? Okay. Second big change is basically with it being conditional zoning, once again, we had permitted uses and special uses. Basically, the special uses were what the steering committee, planning board, council all kind of saw as the more intensive uses. So they put additional regulations on them and required a special use permit. With that being said, now that it's conditional zoning and all these properties will be going through the process when ready, and they proposed those special uses, it's staff's recommendation as well as legal counsel that basically you don't need to do double jeopardy. You don't need to approve a rezoning knowing that a restaurant serving alcohol may be going on a property and then require them to get a special use permit after you've already approved that development for that. So it's basically taking out special uses and replacing them with uses with certain conditions. So they still have to comply with those additional conditions that were already there from a special use permit standpoint. They just don't have to come to council to get that approval because they're already getting that approval at the time of the rezoning. Does that make sense?
Yes and no. But what if we don't know what's gonna go in some of, say, the out parcels? Like, we know, like, we don't know what they're gonna be
So.
at the time of the rezoning.
No, that's a fair point. So with those uses identified in the current adopted code as special uses, in my opinion, there's certain ones that I don't think need to be a special use. I think that they should have the additional requirements, but I think making them go through that special use, I mean, because we've done it with, take the pools abutting a rear yard or side yard example, like if they meet the ordinance and they comply with the standards herein, what is there to, like, what does council really have that authority to deny a special use permit? Like your special use permit, you guys have less wiggle room to deny something compared to the conditional zoning.
I don't know, I kind of feel like it goes back to when we were trying to do the use at Old Village Hall. Like, it's kind of more, I want to put my eyes on it. I want to make sure that it's really falling within whatever our uses are. And if it's a special use, I really want to look at it to make sure that it's compliant with it. I don't know, for me, it's just another set of eyes at another time to make sure that it's
And
what
what
we
if,
want. I
and
don't
what
know.
if it's something that doesn't exist yet?
Well, they have to.
Well, it has to,
they
it
would
has to be
have-
one of
so-
those uses.
So if a property comes.
That hasn't changed.
Correct. If a property comes to rezoning and they are proposing restaurant serving, any of what is identified as a special use at the time of their rezoning, then basically.
But what if we don't know at the time of the rezoning? Like, they don't know we're gonna take
You
the
got,
property
so
that is,
with it being a conditional zoning, you guys can then put those parameters, as long as the applicant agrees upon it, and if they don't agree, then you guys have the right to deny the rezoning request. That if they don't know what those out parcels are, then they have to then potentially come back and get those additional approvals for those uses. Meaning, if it's permitted, or it's outlined in their submittal, which what most applicants are gonna do is probably go ahead and say, hey, we're gonna, the permitted or the proposed uses are everything that's permitted or required with certain uses. And, they're supposed to basically come with a vision, not just a, hey, we wanna do this. Like, they're supposed to have a vision, and that's where it kind of gets tied into their site plan and their approval of the rezoning. I will also say that some of the uses that we have identified as special uses shouldn't be special uses. Just 100% honest.
So maybe that's what we need to change.
Well, that's what it's doing. It's taking out the special uses and it's still making them have additional
No,
requirements.
but I don't know what they are.
Yeah, it's all the ones in the adopted ordinance that were identified as special and have it.
Are they here where I can see them?
Yeah, if you pull up the copy of, the full highlighted section of the form-based code, that's there. I just didn't want to putting those all in, but the chart, you can see all that, I mean, all those are the same, like I said, it's not adding any
Have
uses.
that list just out
Here's
of
the
curiosity.
chart.
If you go to the third attachment of the highlighted sections,
Yeah,
it is
What page?
should be like it's page 11.
I'm on 11.
I got bungalows.
No.
Yep, you do too.
Oh, wait. 11 on this screen, or, because it's 16 of 63, so is it that one, or?
It's actually 10 of 21.
It's page 7 if you're looking at the bottom of the,
Okay. all right,
if you're looking at the
Page
bottom
7 of
numbers, but if
21.
you're looking at the page
Page-
number that's actually on the eScribe thing, it's page 11.
Oh, it's page 11. No, it's not.
It's page 7 of 63 if you're looking at the bottom numbers.
Page 11 on the e-scribe, it says large lot homes, medium lot homes, small lot homes.
Yeah, he's not talking about that. He's saying if you're looking at this.
Well, I know, but he said e-scribe 11.
Okay, what page on eScribe is it?
He's saying 11.
If you're scrolling, there should be a little number
Yeah.
popping up.
It should be page 11
number-
of
what number
70.
is that?
Page 11 out of 72.
And what it says is
11 out
large
of
lot homes.
72.
This,
Medium,
Kim, it's the last attachment that has the whole form-based code.
that says 10.
Oh.
Final proposed.
That one.
Well, he
This
said
document.
3, so it's actually number 4.
Number 4, page 11.
Okay, you said 3, that's what was
Yeah,
throwing
try
us
11 on
off.
that one.
Listen, it wasn't just Joe that time, so let's cut him some slack. It was
Oh,
me
be
too.
careful. ABC store, adult books, these are prohibited, thank
Yeah.
God. It's the second one was adult bookstore, I go, we're allowing that? Okay. Amusement, gallery, auto parts, auto sale, bail bond,
I don't like
banks,
that one.
bingo parlor,
Crime and thrift secondhand.
I have no.
I don't like
used to
that
be a
one.
bingo caller.
Joe, go up one page.
Okay.
All those are prohibited, and those still remain prohibited.
Brewery, art gallery, consignment, thrift, secondhand.
I don't like
cosmetic.
that one, by the way.
Like I said, these proposed changes are ones that are kind of some quick fixes that need to be done with some certain submittals. There's more changes probably to come to this. I just,
Can we get rid of that one?
Because that could be,
I don't know.
I don't know, but I don't like it.
variety of different ones. I mean, there's some upscale
Goodwill.
ones. It could be a Goodwill.
It could be a Goodwill.
Could it be a Goodwill?
What's the proposed changes?
Just a reminder that this public hearing is on the proposed text amendments.
Okay, well, Hunter, make a side note. I'd like to get rid of that one, and we can talk about that in your next meeting that you have with planning board, please, because I don't like that one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 special uses out of all of them.
Roughly, yes.
And
Like I said, and
One of them's
it's,
one I want to get rid of, so.
it's literally microbrewery, restaurant serving alcohol, essential services class 2 is a pump station, and that's going to be proposed most likely at the time of the rezoning. It's not like that one, once again, there's still special requirements that they still have to comply with, but the only other one, and then, yeah, so it's taken those 5. Is government building one?
And I could see I could see like the pump station, I could see your point on that. The other stuff, however, should still be special use permitted, from my standpoint. This is why when we did this this way, because we wanted to be able to, we didn't want to just across the board permit
Correct.
those certain things. It depends on where they are and how they're put in. And that was, so it's a very limited list, so that it basically, if that one gets removed, that one gets, I guess, wouldn't be, I don't know. If we did that particular thing, the services thing, if you put it the way you want to do it, and the other three are special use permits, I think we'd be good.
So I just also want to add, though, with it only being like those three limited uses, those are uses that are most likely going to be proposed during the time of rezoning. And once again, just want to clarify that you're looking at a legislative decision and a quasi-judicial decision, even though they're special uses. With the quasi-judicial decision, you guys are way more handcuffed on saying no. So what I'm trying to say is that the certain requirements still apply. They're still identified the same on the thing. And if they don't propose those as a permitted use at the time of the rezoning, then, those are questions that can be asked. But they still have to comply with the special requirements. So like, if you rezone the property for a commercial development, and they maybe didn't want to clarify or say they wanted to have a restaurant serving alcohol at the time of their rezoning, and they come in and get a special use permit,
So basically,
I understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. I still don't agree with it.
Well, you had me on the fact that it's legislative versus the public hearing. So if we can do it legislatively and say no, and we're not strapped, then that's definitely the better way for us to go as a council.
But we may not know it when they're rezoning. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Correct. Basically, with the way that the rezoning process is set up, is that they are supposed to propose what a detailed site plan, their permitted uses, all that stuff. If they don't at the
Every building on
time.
the property.
Correct. If they don't at the time.
Every space.
Yes.
Is this what we're getting ready to get?
What do you mean?
Like when we're going through this next rezoning, this is what we're gonna get? We're gonna get a proposed, that this is
I
what
mean,
they're
it's,
planning on
once again,
putting
it's
in
not
there?
necessarily for every space, but like with the 3 special uses that are here, those are going to be ones that are most likely going to be identified during their rezoning phase.
Right, that's my point. Like,
She doesn't want one slid in there that we didn't know about at the time, at the initial
yeah.
That's what I'm
rezoning
saying.
that-
The three special uses that are on here are ones that are most like, can't say for sure, and I understand that you have that fear, but like, you can still then set that condition. If they don't say that this is gonna be that, then you can ask that condition to be, if you want a restaurant serving alcohol, and this wasn't part of the original proposal, that they have to come back and amend their original conditional
So
rezoning.
then I'm gonna have to pick the use that I'm saying.
I'm not following, I'm sorry. Like,
No, I'm trying to figure out how to say it better.
if I'm understanding, your concern is that if somebody comes and proposes a certain site plan with certain out parcels and don't have a vision, then that is something you can request at the time of the rezoning to either lock down, it's same thing like Marvin Gardens.
Okay, that's my point. So
Yes.
I'm gonna have to come back and say, okay, you haven't given me, so we have a site plan and you have A, B, C, D, E parcels, and you've given me A, B, C, but now D and E, you don't have anything. So now I'm gonna have to say, well, I want a doctor's office.
I'm not
or-
saying, it's not necessarily what you want, it's that these uses, you
Okay,
already
well,
have.
this is what I'll approve. I'll approve a doctor's office, so go make sure you put a doctor's office in there at the time of the rezoning.
Okay, I'm sorry, I understood like most of what you.
So, maybe come this way. The way this is done, someone could approach us and say, hey, XYZ company could go in there. And we're like, no, it can't. And we're like, oh, yes, it can. Now they'd have to come back to us, but the answer would be, yes, they could come in there. They'd have to get the approval from us to do it. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. You see what we're saying? So if someone were to come to one of us right now, we're out campaigning, and they go, can XYZ store go in there? And we go, absolutely not. And yes, they can. According to this, they can. There's nothing in this that says they can't. That puts us in a bad position. They may, like she said, say, no, I'm going to put in a doctor's office. We're like, okay, that's good. You have to come to us to get permission to do that. But I'm thinking as you're doing this right now, it could put us in a position where we're saying no to something, when in actuality it could be yes, however, they still would have to get approval for it.
So that's what I'm trying to convey, though, is that if you approve it for the rezoning, and it is zoned Marvin Heritage District, even though it's a special use, that does not mean you guys can deny it because you don't like something. You have to do that at the time of the rezoning, with it being a legislative decision. A special use permit and being quasi-judicial, you have to base your decision off of fact and off of, basically, it's all off of fact and factual testimony from, like, if a resident didn't want a restaurant serving alcohol and that's their only justification, that does not mean you guys can deny the special use permit.
Yeah,
Hunter,
we got that.
do y'all want to wait until you have legal counsel here to entertain these questions a little bit more? Is this time sensitive?
I mean, I'm fine with all of the changes except for the special use permit, getting rid of it. And I understand what you're saying, I get it. But, and I'm not necessarily gonna deny it just because I don't like it. I want to lay my eyes on it again before we approve it. Because if you're not coming to me when you're rezoning with your vision and all of the things that you want there, then I want to lay my eyes on it one more time before it goes in there. And I want to make sure that it's in this list. And I definitely want to get rid of that one that's on there. That needs to go away.
So we'll keep this simple.
The one thing that what I'm understanding from where Hunter's coming from is the difference between a legislative decision and a quasi-judicial decision. Because we cannot deny something just because we don't like it.
I know, I'm not saying that I'm going to. I just want to put my eyes on it one more time.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that if it goes to a special use permit, it's quasi-judicial, right? So we cannot deny it just because we don't like it. If it is legislative, we can just say, oh, we just don't like it, and we say no, we don't get it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's when we do that at the rezoning.
Right.
I'm not saying that I'm going to deny it just because I don't like it. I just want to put my eyes on it again before it happens.
Okay.
I don't know. I just don't know why it's that. If it's just me, that's fine. Like, but for me, I want to look at it again. I just want to be able to see it again. All the other stuff I'm fine with, except for that one use. I want to get rid of that one use. That needs to.
Okay, so if that's the area of concern, we can leave them as special uses, and hopefully change number 10 or whatever it is clarifies that. Because basically, the last page, and I know we're kind of jumping around, but I'll read this, and I put both of these in here just because it covers us no matter what, is, let's see.
Right.
Basically, the last change in the memo outlining all the changes basically says, certain additional approvals may be unnecessary. A Heritage District conditional zoning approval will prelude an applicant from having to obtain special use permit if the conditional zoning district application as approved by the Village Council includes uses that are classified as special uses in a table of permitted uses, and the Village Council determines that the sufficient evidence presented by the detailed review of the applicant permits as required for such permits. Additionally, MHD conditional zoning district may prelude an applicant from having to obtain a preliminary site, that preliminary last part, it's basically for subdivisions, they don't have to go through the sketch plan phase.
What page did you just read from? I'm just asking.
It's the second attachment,
Okay.
which is the overview of all the changes. I don't know what page it is, I can pull it up, but
The
it's,
second attachment is not the overview.
The second attachment is not that.
the second attachment is not the final
No, it's
proposed.
the ordinance.
Okay, then it's the first attachment, sorry that
That's okay.
Final proposed, is that what it says at the top?
yeah, so I guess it is the
Okay,
third
so that's
attachment.
the third attachment on our,
What page is it? Sorry, Hunter.
Page 9.
Page 9, 6 of 12, 7 of 21. Page 9, got it. Oh, yeah, no, see, I don't love that, sorry. I don't love that, sorry.
you have to understand that this is being recommended by Chaplin because it's basically double jeopardy. And we can't do that in the state of North Carolina with this process.
Okay, then we're gonna have to put this on hold till Chaplain's here. Sorry. And that'll give you time to get rid of that one use that I don't like, because that's gonna end up being a Goodwill. Mark my words.
Are we all in agreement on that?
Can we get rid of the consignment store, secondhand thrift shop option? Because it will be a Goodwill. Could you imagine having a Goodwill bin out in the middle of the Heritage District? Just saying. We all need to look at,
A bin is different than a store.
not necessarily, because a lot of the stores, they collect stuff, and then people will
Sometimes
just
they just have
throw
an
the shit there.
18-wheeler back, like they do
I do not
over
want a
in-
Goodwill in the middle of the Heritage District.
That's what I'm saying, they could have an 18-wheeler,
Yeah, I
just
know.
truck there that you just drop stuff off.
No,
Well,
sorry.
either way, it would have to go through a special use permit, and we would be able to tell what it is and deny it based on
Well,
what
not,
it is.
apparently not, because I can't use that, although it wouldn't conform with the area of the whatever. I can use that one, but,
Let's
I-
let's
we-
let Chaplin,
So,
sorry, Hunter,
translate and dice this one up.
but you
to-
guys should all look at that list. We all have it now. You guys should look at it. If there's other stuff that you don't like, we should do calls to each other and tell us, and then tell Hunter. But I don't like that one. Is everybody good with getting rid of that one?
I am.
Well, my only comment was sitting in the planning board when this was being talked about. I'm trying to remember, Hunter. Chairman Cates was saying, wasn't there a discussion about this very thing, about special use?
Look, I mean,
I'm trying to recall.
Yeah, like, I'm trying,
which, I mean, I'm shocked that they didn't, if they didn't, but I appreciate that they had concerns, but I want to hear this from Chaplin.
Well,
So it really doesn't matter what planning board said at this point. I need to hear this from Chaplin.
and, oh, that's fine. Basically, what came up during planning board, and Rick was here, the consultant doing the MDO, and he conveyed the same thing, is that all because we make something a special use doesn't give us the authority to deny something. If we have issues with what the permitted and special uses are, then we have to revise that chart in itself, not necessarily making something a permitted or special use. Those permitted and special uses were something that was approved in the original form-based code, and
Here's my suggestion. Let's bring this back to the work session. Let's look at the list, and if we can change the uses on the list, then we won't even have to have a special use permit. So let's bring this back to the work session. We can look at that list. We can all make sure we're all in agreement upon that, because I'm not sure that I don't even remember seeing that list. And I would like to go through that list a little more closely before people start picking what they want in the Heritage District. Can we do that? Hunter doesn't like that.
I guess that we just needed a motion to table the public hearing to the work session, right?
No. Well, is Chaplin going to be there?
I'll make them there. As long as we've advertised once, we can continue it.
You can continue the hearing.
If we make substantial changes, I think procedurally, we have to go back to the planning board and then come back. But I think we can probably work around some things.
Correct, so like,
I think you can close the public hearing because we've given people the opportunity to speak. This is now just becoming a legislative discussion. So you can motion to close the public hearing, and then you can table
The
the
decision.
item to the work session.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Well, did we ask already? No one's here to speak.
John, you want to say anything? Ed, you good? Okay, I think we're good.
Be official.
Yep. Okay, make a motion to close the public hearing.
All's in favor?
Aye. Okay, so then I'm going to make a motion to table the legislative decision until the work session at the end of the month, where we can have legal counsel and have a discussion of the table. Can we change the table then?
Start making text changes, you're probably going to have to go back to the
Okay, well, when's the planning board meeting?
next week.
Perfect, throw that on their agenda, especially that one, and see if they like it.
No, it changes the whole process because then they're making a different recommendation on a different text amendment.
So we can entertain the text amendments that's presented before us today, and then we can come back, you can put the suggested changes that she's got on the next one, and we can go through that process again. So it would basically be doing the same thing we're doing now, just different context.
Okay, perfect, do that, thank you. And then if we have any more changes, we can You guys look at that list, and if you don't like anything else, tell.
Again, I go back, if I'm a good attorney, I look at the uses, it says, the last sentence, uses that are prohibited throughout all of the Heritage District are listed after the table of uses. And if there's something that comes up that doesn't happen to be on that, why can't it be on this? Just because it's not on there, I would argue I have a right to throw it on there. There's no verbiage in there from an attorney standpoint?
This is
No
also,
other use shall be permitted unless expressly permitted herein. That was to cover that, right?
correct.
Okay. I didn't see that.
Okay.
All right.
But I would like to have that one removed, if I haven't said it already, if you guys didn't hear me earlier.
Are you sure about that?
Pretty sure. So if you can work on that text amendment with planning board, that'd be fantastic, and you can bring that to us. Okay, sorry, y'all.
No, I think we caught something that I didn't realize that was on there when you see that. I mean, it could be something nice, but then again, it could be a truck sitting out. So we've tabled that, we're moving on. Village Hall's next. We have anything? Nothing for Village Hall? Unfinished business, I think we had
Nothing.
one item. Okay, and that is discussing its, oh, that's, new. It went to new business. No, someone, it's just,
unfinished.
I
Was
did.
consent number 2.
Oh, yours is, Joe's didn't update. It's
So don't laugh at me,
cooperative
then.
agreement with Union County to enroll in the Union County Community Development
Block grant.
Block Plan.
So I'll take this real quick.
That one, okay.
This is the agreement that I had proposed to you all at the last work session, and it's merely a consortium of municipalities in Union County that are seeking grant funding with Union County, in conjunction with Union County. If you remember, it was, we briefly discussed, it was for the acquisition of real property, clearance and demolition, rehab of residential and non-residential structures, public facility space, which could include water and sewer and streets. It's basically a group of municipalities that are coming together. If Union County gets grant funding for certain projects, as I've just mentioned, they can allow some type of allocation towards municipalities for certain projects. We don't have to do it. It's not something that we are required to do. It's just there's potentially pots of money that are sitting out there at some point in time in the near future, with us having the chance to tap into those resources.
To get money for what?
A couple of projects that they mentioned as possibilities are acquisition of real property, clearance and demolition, rehabilitation of residential and non-residential structures, public facilities, which could include water, sewer, and streets. I can pull up the exact email that was sent.
So, and who has to grant this grant to us?
It's their federal pass-through grants. It's kind of similar to the CRTPO, where it's a federal pass-through for
But-
CRTPO,
But who has to say, hey, Marvin, you get this money?
Union County. Union County ultimately has the decision.
This is gonna come up again in sewer and water. This
So,
is why
but
this has been put on.
Christina, is this an administrative decision, or is this a Board of County Commissioners decision?
I really honestly don't know the answer to that question.
The WUMA meeting that I was in, you get, I think David or Brian, one of the two said something about allocation of some type of fund allocation or allocation of resources, and I'm thinking this is part of that. I could be wrong.
So I'm just going to read you the, how do I get, this was a frequently asked questions that was sent to us. How do I get the funding? So all the members that are a part of this group and nonprofit agencies have to go through a formal application process. An application for funding can be obtained on our website. During the open application period, applications are typically available at the beginning of the year. Applications are submitted annually, and they would be awarded in the July, August of the same year. Funds, are based on eligibility and merit of each activity. And then it just goes into the eligible activities, which is acquisition of real property, clearance and demolition, rehabilitation of residential and non-residential structures, public facilities and improvements such as water and sewer, streets, neighborhood centers, code enforcement, public services, and special economic and job creation retention activities. Municipalities that are in this consortium are Monroe, Marshville, Stallings, Waxhaw, Weddington, Wingate, Fairview, Indian Trail, Mineral Springs, Wesley Chapel. There's no financial obligation, and we don't have to apply. We can just literally put our name in the hat. If a project becomes available, we say we're interested. If we're not interested, we don't apply.
Okay, so it's, okay, all right.
Yeah, I think it's
It's a
separate from
pass-through
what I
free
was just
grant
saying.
money if
Okay.
there's something, a project that warrants the money.
It doesn't force anything on us.
No.
You know, we would have.
No monetary, nothing,
But,
no,
no, I'm saying force like some development,
Oh.
housing or whatever.
no.
No.
Yeah, I think it's separate of what I was just
Because
saying.
when I was reading it, it had HUD in there and
Yeah.
all these other,
So there would be HUD requirements, and I think the general intent for a lot of these CDBG grants are for HUD purposes, and I think they're primarily geared towards lower income communities, which obviously we wouldn't apply for some of these things for HUD development, meaning residential structures and rehabbing. Like, a lot of it goes towards blight and rehabbing certain blighted communities like downtown corridors that are trying to look for redevelopment. But there's sometimes the opportunity for grant funding to come available for infrastructure purposes, water and sewer.
But if we're a part of this, we don't have to do anything. We don't have to
No.
accept anything. We don't have to sign up for certain programs. We're just, if we want to get a grant, we'll get a grant. We'll
Yes.
apply for a grant.
so that's the only reason we would sign up. If there is something that comes down the road that allows us to apply for a grant, we would do it.
It doesn't
In
hurt
this.
us, it can always help us.
Yeah.
That's right,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
All right, so I'm good with, I'm going to make a motion to enter a cooperative agreement with Union County to enroll in the Union County Community Development Block Grant Program.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Unfinished business?
Yep, that's where we just were.
Okay, I thought, new business?
Yep, we tabled that.
Okay. Well, I'm getting
I
to it,
know,
yeah.
I'm just letting you know.
Open topics. Anybody got anything?
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
I was here this morning and I talked to Christine about a few things. But I got a phone call this afternoon that said that on the sidewalk issue on Tom Short, that they were told that if they wanted to repair the irrigation system, which Amber Meadows does, they were told that they would have to have an encroachment agreement before they did anything.
That is correct, and that was explicitly stated in the walkthrough that we had with both Amber Meadows and Tullamore. It was also stated in some of the emails that we had back and forth. Whether you're in Marvin jurisdiction or not in Marvin jurisdiction, you have to have encroachment agreements for anything if you're in the right-of-way, whether it's irrigation, whether you're putting a sign up. Marvin requires the same thing, because basically what that boils down to, if there's a Marvin sidewalk and someone comes in and puts irrigation into the area and we don't know about it, if we have to go in there and repair the sidewalk, we don't know the irrigation's there unless we have an encroachment agreement. So we have to be aware of these things when people are putting them in the right-of-way, just like DOT does. So that is correct.
The question was asked to me and I don't know the answer. Who applies for the encroachment agreement?
Whoever the holder is of the item. So if Amber Meadows is responsible for the maintenance of the irrigation, it would be Amber Meadows. If it's the Village of Marvin, it would be them. If the Village of Marvin is putting up a sign, they're going to apply for the encroachment agreement. If they're putting in irrigation lines, they would apply for the encroachment agreement. So whoever the responsible party is,
To us or to DOT?
to DOT. Yeah.
To DOT, okay.
because DOT still owns the road.
We will have an update for you all at the work session on Tom Short, but that is an accurate statement.
I got the phone call, I told them I would ask.
Yeah. We had to get encroachment agreements to do irrigation in the traffic circles from the state. in order for us to do that work. So everybody has to do it. Can't do anything inside a right-of-way without it.
This is a general concept that people don't fully understand. We run into it quite frequently when we have sidewalk issues. Ran into it a couple of times in Weddington Chase when we did some sidewalk repairs. Things get damaged. I mean, irrigation gets damaged when people are going in there and doing work, and they like to hold us accountable for those things. But if we don't have the agreements in place to know that there's stuff there, it's gonna happen. So unfortunately, it's just the nature of doing this job.
Then the second part of the question was, if the DOT says that, when they came in 14 and they took the road over, they didn't tell anybody they had to do anything.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of times people do stuff without asking for permission. Like, if we went up and put a sign right now, the chance, we have done that. We've put signs up before without getting encroachment agreements. So the chances of someone actually finding it is very far and few between until it becomes a problem. So they wouldn't have, I don't think they would have warned them, even if they had known. It's just kind of their responsibility, unfortunately.
Okay.
And I think your HOA president's aware of,
Well, he was one of the persons that called me.
there was an email that we just had exchanged last week or even earlier this week that he advised to wait until the final work got finished on those, where the tree roots were pulled out. Like, there's still some remaining work to be done. He said he would wait until that's done before he gets the work.
I was told that also.
Okay. Anything else on open topics? I'd like to get, because it's not on the agenda, just a refresh on, I think there were 2 coffee with councils.
We do that in the work session.
Okay, so we're not, can I mention something about that? Because I do want to.
Sure.
All right. And I think I mentioned to you that when we were talking to them, trying to figure out where we go from there, I reached, Anthony did finally call me back, and he did send me 2 things, and maybe something that you'll be able to look up that relates to Tullamore and the easements that were granted way back then, and it's filed with the county. It looks like a number of pages long. We may be able to gather some information for that. So I will forward that on to you, but that's the only thing that I would say that as far as for what we're in the middle of trying to decide with that.
Did you
Nothing
understand
else?
any of that?
All right. What's that? I'll be sending you that. Review of action items.
So we will send out a reminder that the roads are closing on Monday. Christina is going to confer to the county that we are prepared to assume billing for sewer service if necessary, as well as whatever else is needed. We are going to execute the agreement for the Community Development Block Grant Consortium. We're going to process the paperwork for the annexation. And we've tabled the camera item to the work session, as well as the legislative decision for the text amendments. That's all I got.
And we will have a name and number for Mary when people call in to start complaining
For DOT.
for DOT. Correct?
Yes, and we're gonna get a press release out.
Okay. In fact, in that press release,
Yeah, put the number.
put the number, yeah, it's not, make it very clear, this is not a Marvin thing, this is all DOT. All right. Review of Mayor Pro Kim list. Oh, jeez.
So whenever I get the boot, you guys are gonna have to rename that item. Okay, voluntary annexations. Austin, you just had another conversation with the chimneys?
Oh, yes. Me, Hunter, and Christina met and provided them with a lot of answers to questions they had. We've sent those responses off. I also responded to a lot of questions from Sedgefield, waiting to hear back.
So we don't know if they like the answers?
Pretty much. So
Okay.
we're in a holding pattern.
Okay, all right.
We're in a hold.
But they're asking questions, that's a good thing. Okay. Weather vane.
I do have an update.
What?
I have an update.
I almost forgot about that thing.
I know, I was waiting for the new fiscal year and for my projects to die down. So I've been working with a new vendor. It's been very easy, actually. Cost of the weather vane is $2,195. Their turnaround time's 4 to 6 weeks. I'm preparing to order it right now. Just gotta send over a deposit and we're good to go.
And we need to find out how they're gonna put it up there.
That's a separate issue.
Helicopter.
That's not them. This is
I
just
vote for
We're
fabrication.
not
Helicopter.
doing it.
Helicopter. I vote for helicopter.
Let's have Joe get up there. Strap it to his back, let him,
Waivers.
okay. All right, very good. Wayne, Hunter, anything that the towns of Archery Park? Hunter's so mad at us right now.
I've complied with the request to give Tanya McCauley the phone number, and I have,
And she's gonna call him?
and she's in Mexico.
Oh,
She
okay.
left the country.
All right, so but she wants to call him for us?
Well, I was asked that, thought that maybe another HOA president, other than a council member or something, would have more sway over and answer some of the questions.
Okay,
So I gave it to Tanya. She's coming back this weekend. She'll be back in town next week.
okay, so she's gonna call him for us. Okay, cool.
Well,
I'll just mention that, I mean, I've reached out to the property management company and have some conversations with them, but still kind of in a holding pattern.
Okay.
and one of the contacts, one of the council members, one of their board members just turned their phone off. Disconnected,
Oh, okay.
not in service.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll keep trying. Mr. Mayor, any update from Mr. Brody?
Not yet. no.
Okay, all right. Tyler's working on the partnership with Union County. Any reimbursement for Winmore?
Working through some things because of state permits.
Okay. Regional stormwater study, do we have it back?
We have not even started that yet.
I mean, we have the drainage
Oh.
study back. The whole intent of the regional stormwater study was potentially for some additional information, and I've
Oh,
kind of
regional.
gotten some
Okay.
of that. But I don't know how much more of a quote-unquote regional stormwater study we're gonna do unless we actually do a study. If that makes
Does everybody else want to do a study?
kind of in a holding pattern, because there's a lot of questions that bring up, I mean, and so like I said, if not all property owners are on board, then there's no use to even go down that
No, I
path.
agree. Okay, all right. You can put by Mr. Wortman's projects, he will be done with those on 7/13.
You can
Right?
put it there. I'm gonna
Okay.
work on it on 7/13. I
perfect.
can't guarantee completion, but.
Fantastic. I think we can check off this, communicate with Bars Recreation, because we don't know what we're doing there. We can get rid of that guy, right? Yeah,
Yeah, we're in RFP process
so
right
let's
now.
just get rid of that one. It looks like banners and signs have been ordered for National Night Out. Do we have any more that need to be ordered?
They're up.
Nope, okay, so complete that one.
There, you know, at the park that you aren't familiar with, there's a sign in front of it for
We have a
National
park?
Night Out. Yeah.
We have a park?
Great big banner out there in front of it.
Really?
Yeah,
Man, I should go check it out. Where is it?
down the road, over yonder.
Over yonder, around the bend. It's a satellite area. Okay, we're moving forward, so you can complete that one, and you can complete National Night Out, because we've already got that working. Okay, I'm done.
All right. On to council comments. Who wants to go first? Wayne? Andy? Only because you guys sit at the end. I'll bring it in.
I want to thank Ed for all the work he does, and Tommy, and for the staff. I mean, they're always the people that make us look good.
Okay. Jamie?
Same. I mean, thanks for all you guys do all the time. And staff, great job. You're always on top of things, keeping things moving. And that's, the people of Marvin should realize how much you guys do, and they don't get to see it, but it's much appreciated for everyone that's here that do what you do. I think there was some point in, I had come across somebody say something about the wayfinding stuff that we were doing, and it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, we're not big enough, there's not enough stuff here, whatever. I think we're the highest per capita in the state.
Again.
Every time I cross that bridge down coming from Mecklenburg County and I see that Marvin sign, it looks like we are some trailer, I shouldn't say that. It looks like we're from the swamp somewhere. That sign looks bad. And if we're going to.
If you can see it.
If you can see it. But we're better than that. So for those people, all we're trying to do is just, over time, this is a phased approach. Over time, this is going to be, we want to put up signage that represents the people in the village of Marvin. So when we talk about annexation, that's one of the things that adds to it. We're better than that. We're better than that state sign. So just, people, please work with us and knowing that appreciate that we're not wanting to just spend money just to spend money. We are who we are, and we need to represent ourselves accordingly. So.
Be proud of your community.
Thanks, Andy.
Well, ditto everything that these two have said, and I do mean it. Staff, law enforcement, I do appreciate everything you guys do. You guys work really hard at your respective jobs, and you certainly deserve recognition every single month. That's all I have.
Bob? I agree with everybody else. Thank you.
Kimberly.
Me too. Thanks for all everybody does, and I know that we frustrate you guys sometimes, and you don't like the answers that we propose, but thank you for being patient with us, and not just office staff, but thank you to park staff too, and I understand we've got a new person, so I look forward to meeting them, but thank everybody for really what you guys do. You're the ones that make, everything go around. We just throw the sticky wicket in the wheel, so, but thank you guys. That's it.
All right, thank you. And I'd just like to say a couple things. What? Yeah, a couple things about you. Obviously, thank staff and our support from the Sheriff's Department. We support you guys. We're only about National Night Out?
Forget National Night Out.
Don't, yeah. Who?
You say it.
Don't forget National Night Out. That's what day is that?
August 1st,
August 1st?
5:30.
5:30?
At the park.
At the park.
I didn't even know we had a park.
There you go. So, but I'm going to say a special thank you to an individual, Anthony Berman, because we had the coffee with council. He did not get back to me, and he called me back, and not only did he call me back, but I think he was up, I was getting texts till after 11 at night. He was going through his files at home. So if you don't know who he is, he was a former mayor pro tem at one time, and we've always had a good relationship in talking, and he's, believe it or not, still listens in. So I'd like to give him a special thanks because I think he will help us. He's another one, working knowledge, which I think is important when we're even looking at new potential council members, the people who have the knowledge in the past. And John, I appreciate you being in here today because I know you've put your hat in the ring, and I appreciate that. And I think the community will appreciate that should you be elected. So we'll look forward to that. And then we're only a month and a half away, believe it or not, from school back in, which is kind of scary. So we're trying to, with my family, trying to get one more little vacation in. And those that are still on there, wish safe travels for those who are traveling and already getting ready for school again before you know it. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I had one more thing.
Oh, it's done. Nope, it's done. It's done. Bye. Bye-bye.
He did say, by the way, did you break our record? And I said, what record's that? He said, we had a meeting and it went till 5:30 in the morning. Started at 6 and a council, and it went till 5:30 in the morning, they finally adjourned. I said, I don't think we ever planned to.
break that record.
We've gone after midnight, but never into 5:30, so. Well, they probably did that when they were doing that.
That's a new policy, because I have definitely gone well after midnight.